Hello and welcome into Sportszone. I'm your host, Trey Francis, and the madness of March, it's over. But we're going to talk about it for one last time, and then talk about it here with me. I have Jalen Alexander and Anthony Council. Guys, first, we're going to talk about a little bit of Final Four, and then we're going to get into the big game. So, Jalen, to you first. Tell me about what was this NC State and Purdue game about?
I mean, whenever your best guy plays 40 minutes as in Zach Edey, I don't think you're going to lose. NC State definitely missed some shots that they shouldn't have missed in general. They tried doubling Edey in the second half, but it just had them go and shoot 38% from the three in the second half, which just meant completely pure domination for this Boilermaker team.
Yeah, and Purdue definitely dominated. Anthony, did you have anything to add on top of that? I mean, it was Edey against Burns, and Edey kind of burned him.
Yeah, he really did. I mean, if you're looking at the game, NC State, they couldn't make a shot. It was really a challenge for them from three. I mean, you thought Burns was going to, be that dominant player we saw this whole entire tournament, but it just never happened for him. I mean, he only had 8 points, and that's not enough if you want to beat Purdue. I mean, looking at Zach Edey, he averaged 29 points per game in this tournament. I mean, some of the shots from Horn for NC State, it was great, but it just wasn't the best thing for them. I mean, they shot 36% from the field and 26% from three. And when you're playing against Purdue, who has been on a locomotive this whole entire time, that's not going to win you the game against one of the best bigs in the tournament.
Let's talk about the teams that they had to go through. I mean, people thought that they might choke once again, but they played NC State, Tennessee, Gonzaga, Utah State, and Grambling State. Jalen, did you think this Boilermaker team would choke before they got to the ship, or what?
I most definitely thought they were going to choke. I was definitely one of them haters. But the most impressive win to me was the Gonzaga win. And them going out there winning by, I think they won by like 12, 13.
It was domination.
Yeah,
for sure.
And just thinking of that, you saw Gonzaga win by 20 both games before. I know Kansas was missing their guy, but that's still a tough team to beat no matter what. But against Tennessee, Dalton Connect had a great game. But Zach Edey having 40 and 16 rebounds, you can't beat that.
No, I totally agree with you, Jalen. I had Gonzaga beating them as well, and from there, Purdue really impressed after that game. Anthony, what did you see from Purdue after that Gonzaga game that helped get them to the ship?
Yeah, I actually think that, you mentioned this Gonzaga game. I think the most impressive game was Tennessee. You had Dalton Connect, and Dalton Connect connects
37?
from 37. He's going to be more likely a lottery pick out of this draft. And, like you said, he had 40 points. He really dominated that entire game for Purdue. And, I think from that point forward, he was going to be the best big, aside from one Klingon from UConn, but he really just performed the whole entire time against Tennessee. And I think that for Purdue, from the likes of B. Smith and Edey playing phenomenal throughout this whole tournament, they were just on a roll the whole entire time.
Yeah, and you mentioned Klingon, so let's go ahead and talk about Klingon's team and the UConn Huskies. They went through Alabama, other teams that they faced before that, Illinois, San Diego State, Northwestern, Stetson. They were kind of doubted from the beginning, guys. People kind of counted them out. What did you guys see from UConn that kept themselves in it? Jalen, I'll go to you.
I think that they were just definitely one of the most polished teams in the country. They were able to keep and replenish their guys that they had last year, and guys who understand their roles they were able to keep. And Dan Hurley's just an amazing coach, man. The way that he's able to lead this team, and they were able to go get Stephon Castle as a blue-chip freshman, he was insane. And I just think they just played great all year.
Yeah, and Anthony, what did you like for the Huskies against the Crimson Tide?
Yeah, UConn played lights out. They played lights out this whole entire tournament. They were blowing people out. And Dan Hurley said it. That's the only way they can win, is by blowing teams out. And that's exactly what they did in the second half against the Tide. Now, you got to give the Tide some credit. Look, Sears had a phenomenal game, shooting phenomenal from three. Nelson, who came from North Dakota State last year as a transfer for Alabama, played phenomenal as well. But, when you got Klingon going off and you got Castle playing phenomenal, 21 points, 7 for 13 from the field, they were doing everything that you've seen this whole entire season. And like you said, Castle's a blue-chip, blue-collar player. And for them, I think Dan Hurley has them in a system where it's so organized and so under control that really no one could beat them this whole entire season. So
yeah, they definitely dominated. And in that game, they'd won 86-72, and all five starters, they had over 12 points. Man, it helps whenever you have many guys contributing, to the game. But now let's go ahead and get to this championship game. It was a dominating performance, to say the least, from the Huskies. They pretty much took off from the start. Jalen, what did you like from the Huskies in the championship game?
One thing I really like from the Huskies is their ability to guard the perimeter. And you look at Purdue, the second best three-point shooting team in the country, and you have Stephon Castle, Alex Karaban, and Cam Spencer literally putting them in prison, just trying to get them to stop shooting the ball. Whenever they had a play where it was the end of the end of the first half, where I think Braden Smith finally got a semi-open look, and he ended up calling a timeout right after he shot it and is yelling at his team. This was only I don't even think Purdue had made a three yet. And Dan Hurley's yelling on the sideline, calling timeouts like we can't let them shoot those threes. And then they locked them up all game. That was the most impressive defense on the perimeter I've seen in all the tournament.
Yeah, great defense by the Huskies. Anthony, what did you like from the Huskies in that game? There was a lot of good aspects from them.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing from the Huskies that I saw in the championship game was everybody that wasn't named Klingon, honestly. I mean, Klingon, he don't get me wrong, he played a great game. He played his heart out, as he usually does. Not a lot of points, really only 11 points in the game. But it was really the other group of players that wasn't him. I mean, Tristan Newton, who was the player of the game, most outstanding player, had 20 points and 20 points, 6 for 13 from the field. Really played a phenomenal game, and that's really what you've seen this whole entire season for the UConn Huskies is when Klingon is playing a great game, he's not afraid to get his other teammates out or not afraid to get his other teammates involved. And that's really how UConn won because, I mean, Edey had a phenomenal game. Don't get me wrong. He played fantastic. However, it was Edey and Smith, and then everybody else didn't really have a lot of points.
Yeah, Edey and Klingon, that was one great matchup, and you can throw a little pun in there and say Klingon was clinging to the basket.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was.
But whenever you talk about the impact, of Donovan Klingon, he's a team player. Whenever he succeeds, he makes guys around him better, and that's the kind of guy you want on your squad. I mean, the guy's 7'2", 280. You can't ask for much more. Jalen, what do you like about Klingon?
I mean, I've always semi-liked Klingon, but sometimes I felt like he could have been a bit soft. I mean, I know y'all watched the Alabama game where Grant Nelson yammed on this man, and it was like, oh my
crazy.
Goodness. Like, he got up there, and it was just like he just put his hand up and just sitting there. And I just thought after that, I was like, this man isn't even, doing anything. But you saw him at the end of the game going crazy, getting buckets, just leading this team to a victory. And I feel like whenever he's on, he's on. But especially in the game, you have Zach Edey. It's hard to stop him, 37 points, 10 rebounds. He gave up some difficult twos to him, and he was getting back down all game. So I'm not going to say, he's not too soft, but he's a great player. But I feel like there's definitely some weak spots in there, too.
Yeah, you know that Edey's going to have his kind of game, but whenever you look at, the halftime stats, I mean, only a 6-point, separation there. Did you guys think from there that the Huskies would keep running away with it, or did you kind of think Purdue would still have a chance? Anthony, I'll go to you.
I mean, just looking at the second half, when the second half happened, I mean, it was kind of close when it came to the first half. It was kind of even. It was kind of an even matchup. When the second half came along, I feel like Hurley said something to the team, as he always does with all his faces that he makes. They're phenomenal. Something happened in the second half, and they just ran away with it. And that's really what we've seen this whole entire year from them. I mean, I think Dan Hurley is a phenomenal coach. I mean, 6 championships for the UConn Huskies. After 1999, I mean, they're kind of in the MJ type of year, if you really want to talk about it, for these Huskies. And they're just going to keep on recruiting over and over again. And I think it's no surprise at all for anybody.
Yeah, and Jalen, did you think that same thing that Anthony said? You thought the Huskies would run away after half?
Yeah, I feel the same way. I mean, UConn's a second-half team, and we saw that during the regular season, and we saw that during the tournament. It didn't even have to be in the second half. I know you remember the 30-0 run they had against Illinois, so I just think it was definitely good for them.
All right, let's go real quick. Do you think they will three-peat next year? Let's give me a yes or no. Jalen, to you first.
Yes.
Absolutely.
All right, just since you guys went yes, I guess I'm going to go no, but they have a dang good shot. So. But make sure to stay with us when we come back. We're going to talk about women's March Madness now. There's some good aspects to that, so make sure to don't go anywhere.
A 20-minute walk? I don't want to do this right now.
Don't worry, you can just use Transit.
Transit? What's that?
Transit is a mobile app that provides real-time tracking to connect buses, UNT shuttles, and even A trains. Simply download the app, then tap on the search bar and type where you want to go. In a matter of seconds, you get results for all available routes. And the best part of it is, it's completely free for UNT students.
What are you doing? I'm downloading it right now.
Download Transit today and remember, make life better without a car.
What does Talents do?
So I am the Vice President of External Relations for Talents. That means that I basically oversee all the external committees. Our external committees entail our Model A, it's a Mean Green Machine. So they bring it to football games especially, so every game it's kind of there, every home game. The Model A is like a symbol of UNC pride, and it's a big tradition that we are so lucky to uphold and maintain. When people look at it, they see it, and they're like, oh, that's the Mean Green Machine. There must be a game today or something to ramp up school spirit for basketball, softball, volleyball, any of those things. We have amazing teams, so we just want to show school spirit for them. Bonfire Committee, which is in charge of putting together the bonfire every year for homecoming. It's kind of just a whole semester-long process up until build week that we have to put together and oversee and make sure safety regulations are followed and risk management is taken care of. Cannon Crew, which oversees and takes care of the cannon. They fire it at games, they take it to special occasions.
Welcome back into Sportszone. And now we're going to talk about some women's March Madness because we know there's a lot of people out there watching it and talk about it here with me. I have Austin Fernandez and Sydney Johnson. Sydney, I'm going to go ahead and go to you first. This women's March Madness as a whole, it's a lot different than what it used to look like.
Absolutely no. I think that it is such an exciting time to be a woman athlete right now. There's so many records being broken on so many different levels. As a woman myself, I'm excited. I'm riled up.
Yeah, and Austin, your thoughts on it?
I think as a sports fan, it was super exciting to watch. It was kind of new to the game, some new faces, some new star power that we weren't really used to. But I had a ton of fun watching. I cannot wait to talk about Iowa and Caitlin Clark right now, dude.
Yeah, well, we will talk about her, but let's go ahead and start with Iowa and kind of who they had to go through. So they played UConn, LSU, Colorado, West Virginia University, and Holy Cross. Couple tough games in there, but I mean, it was unmatchable for Caitlin Clark. Austin, what did you think there, with the teams they had to play? Did you see them going all the way?
I think, me personally, I did see them going all the way, but that's because, I was kind of on the Caitlin Clark bandwagon, the little hype train. But that LSU game was absolutely electric all the way around. Caitlin Clark for 41 points, 12 assists versus LSU in that Elite Eight game. That got them 12.3 million views, kind of setting the bar right there until eventually getting all the way there for the women's, national championship game. It was a ton of fun to watch all the way around, even that UConn matchup that they had. And I loved every single second of watching Iowa this year.
Yeah, Iowa and UConn was a good one for sure. And Sydney, what did you think? I mean, Caitlin Clark, he's mentioned it already. She's had a crazy impact, and she goes out there and drops buckets.
No, Caitlin Clark is absolutely amazing. I wouldn't be shy to say that I've also hopped on her bandwagon. But another thing that I'll have to say is I feel like Clark's back is hurting a little bit from carrying her team. I mean, you see her put up 41, 40 points game after game, and the rest of the stat sheet is 4 points, 2 points, 5 points, 7 points. She's amazing, and that's great, but I just wish she had a little bit of help sometimes.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you, and I'm on the bandwagon as well, so that makes the three of us. But now let's go ahead and go to South Carolina, unbeaten, and they had a couple tough games there, a couple close games. Austin, what teams did they go through, or who did they have to play, and which games were closer?
The only game that really looked close for them in this tournament was the game against Indiana, which is the game that I thought they could really be had. They got outscored 43-30 in that second half, and I really thought Indiana might come back and might do it, but obviously South Carolina, so much depth on that team, especially Raven Johnson. She didn't put up all the box score numbers, but defensively she was an absolute stud out there, and to me that's kind of my player right there. And through the games, that was kind of the only close game. Every other game they blew out. In the first round, they won by 51 points. Absolutely absurd. So that's kind of the game that stood out to me.
Yeah, 51-point, game score differential. You think maybe it's a college versus a high school or something like that. But Sydney, I'm going to go to you. What game stood out to you this season, whether that's in the March Madness or conference tournaments or regular season? Which game stood out to you?
Yeah, of course. Losing one game in 2 years is like crazy. That's like almost unheard of. So obviously, this squad that they had this season was just super special. The Oregon State matchup and the NCSU matchup were all really good ones. I mean, like kind of how you were saying earlier, we see a lot of blowouts here. Nobody really likes to see a blowout. No sports fan wants to watch that. But one in particular that really kind of just shocked me was the game against Presbyterian, how they just completely blew them out of the water. That was like completely insane to watch.
Yeah, since you guys are kind of on the top of the March Madness games, I'm going to go, if you just look at the regular season schedule, I mean, their first 4 out of 5 games, they dropped 100 points. And two of those teams were ranked. I mean, if that doesn't show you what a dominating team they are from the beginning, I mean, that really shows it to you. But now let's go ahead and get into this national championship game. Iowa, they came in with a lot of pressure. Going against a team that has not lost. Sydney, like you said, they haven't lost, one game in the last 2 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel, if you were Caitlin Clark in Iowa, how would you feel going into that one?
I mean, honestly, we kind of see what Clark does over and over. She'll start off with these super deep shots to kind of draw the defense out and make some things happen underneath the basket. That both defense on both teams honestly were on fire the entire time. They kind of went back and forth in like a ping pong match in the beginning until Clark finally got that shot to drop, and then she was just on fire. But again, I don't think Caitlin, she's a great player, but South Carolina is honestly just the better team. They have better defense, they have better coverage, they're able to have more people make plays on the scoreboard on the offensive side. So, coming into it, I think a lot of people on the Clark bandwagon wanted to see her win, but I mean, South Carolina was just the better squad this year.
Yeah, South Carolina is just that team, I guess.
Yeah.
But Austin, we saw Iowa come out of the gates, firing. They went up 7 or 9 points in the beginning. Do you think that had South Carolina fans or the players worried at all?
I mean, they definitely could have been a little nervous, but throughout the rest of the game, that's when the depth really comes into play, and that's what, Iowa didn't really had. Caitlin Clark had 30 points. Second best was Kate Martin with 16 points right there. And also, you talked about offensive, but South Carolina also has defensive depth. Caitlin Clark had 18 points in that first quarter, absolutely explosive, and then Raven Johnson said, I want that defensive assignment right there, and absolutely locked her down. 12 points for the rest of the game right there. So, I just think it was kind of an unfair matchup. Caitlin Clark did have to look like she had to drop 50 points in order to win the game, and she just couldn't do it because of all the, maybe the pressure did get to her, but we saw against LSU, the pressure didn't really get to her, but I just think it might have been a little uneven scales right there.
Yeah, definitely a good point there. Depth, I mean, that helps you a lot. And the South Carolina depth is definitely, there's more of them in it, and it's better than what Iowa has. But Cindy, what players did you like from either side? Obviously, you have the big names, but who else did you like in that matchup?
Right, no, I think Camila Cardoso with South Carolina is definitely a powerhouse defensively, offensively. She's always able to make those stops underneath the basket when it's needed, especially with a player like Clark. A couple of other people that I saw honestly, the whole South Carolina squad did pretty good. They are pretty good at working as a collective and having that harmony that they need on the court to make things happen and really put points up on the board. You kind of wish that you see star players like Clark get, that kind of harmony with her squad that she has, and maybe eventually they will. But again, South Carolina, I mean, the defense on both sides was just really shocking. A lot of those shots that were blocked was one of the highlights for me personally. But yeah, I mean, South Carolina was just, they got a lot of really good players this year.
Yeah, I mentioned it already, but this game and the viewership that it got was more than a men's and women's games, in the last 5 years, college or pro. Austin, talk about that. I mean, that's huge.
That just shows the amount of star power that was kind of hidden for maybe the world who didn't really pay attention to women's college basketball. But this year, I mean, it was in full effect. You got people talking about not just Caitlin Clark, but, Angel Reese, Paige Beck, who was kind of that freshman rivalry coming into college between Caitlin Clark and, Beck right there. And there's just so much star power, which I feel like men's was kind of lacking. And I also think that UConn was kind of boring the men's side because they were blowing every team out. And, South Carolina did keep things interesting against Indiana. Caitlin Clark was exciting to watch. She looked like the Steph Curry of women's basketball. And it was just so exciting. And to me, I had more fun watching because there was so much pressure, like the Iowa going to LSU, South Carolina looking for their revenge tour. The only game they lost in the last 2 years was to Caitlin Clark in Iowa. And I think that just played a huge factor, was all this pent-up aggression that they had for each other, and it was really shown on the court, and I loved every second of it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. There were so many factors that played into it, like you said, but Sydney, what kind of touched you in that way? How did you feel about that?
Yeah, no, man, again, it's amazing to be a women's athlete right now. It's amazing to be a woman right now. There's so many records that have been breaking on the women's sports side this year. I think the game, it was like 18.7 or was it 18.4 million viewers?
7, yeah.
Yeah, I think it ended up peaking at 24 million at the high. So that's just crazy. That's unheard of for women women's sports. It's definitely a huge benchmark that's been made. You know, kind of similar with the women's UNT basketball team as well this season, who have broken a lot of records and done a lot of things that nobody's ever done in this program before. So I just think that women's sports, we're taking over. It's our time.
There you go. And real quick, I'm going to need yes or no from you on this one. I mean, do you think that this can continue? Austin, I'll go to you first. Sorry.
I definitely think it could continue just because I think it finally opened up the eyes of many sports fans and basketball fans around. It's not really becoming women's college basketball anymore. It's just playing out basketball now, and that's what they're playing, and it's exciting to me.
And Sydney?
No, I absolutely agree with what he said. And, you know, women rule the world. I think it's just the beginning of us really starting to take over. I absolutely think it's going to continue.
Yes, no, I'm right there with you. I think that it'll continue, and that's what a lot of people want to see. They want to see that continued success, and with Caitlin Clark, now there's other players that, you know, will want to follow in that legacy. But stay on the topic of basketball. After this, we're going to be talking about some Dallas Mavericks and their basketball, so make sure to not go anywhere.
Attention all UNT students, are you looking for a professional headshot?
If so, mark your calendars for April 11th and 12th, where you can get a headshot by Isabel and myself.
Whether you're updating your LinkedIn profile, building your portfolio, or just want a stunning photo, join us on April 11th from 3:30 to 9 p.m. and April 12th from 12 to 5:30 p.m.
Located at the RTFP building in room 261, this event is free for all UNT students, and I repeat, free for all UNT students.
Don't miss out on this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to shine professionally. Get ready to put your best face forward. See you there.
There's no harm in wanting to have fun while in college, but it's easy to lose track of how much you've had. Apps like Drink Control and Alkadroid can help keep track of your consumption and blood alcohol levels. If you or someone else does drink too much, the signs of alcohol poisoning are as follows: pale skin, vomiting, confusion, low body temperatures, irregular breathing, blacking out, and is hard to wake up or cannot be woken up.
Dude, are you okay? Hey, what's wrong? Wake up.
It's an exciting time of year, but it's important to be responsible. If you suspect someone is suffering from alcohol poisoning, get help immediately. You will not get in trouble for seeking help if you are underage. For more info and resources, go to UNT's Division of Student Affairs.
Hello and welcome back into Sportszone. I'm your host, Trey Francis. Now we're going to talk about these red-hot Dallas Mavericks because they are making some noise across the league. And to talk about that here with me, I have Jay Lathan and Rohan Srinivasan. Jay, I'm going to go to you first. Let's talk about the Mavericks as a whole in their season. What have been your thoughts so far?
Man, I mean, it's talk about a complete turnaround from last season where they just went on an absolute just stink fest down the stretch last year. And this year, they've won 16 out of the last 18. I mean, just a complete turnaround. I think this is what Mark Cuban dreamed about when he brought in Kyrie and Luka to have that dynamic duo.
And Rohan, your thoughts?
I mean, yeah, the Mavs are really hot as of late. I think we've won 16 of the last 18. That last game was incredible. I know we'll get into that a little bit later, but they're just rolling. And people just needed to give it time about Luka and Kyrie really building that chemistry together, and it was about time that they put it together this year.
Yeah, let's go ahead and talk about Luka and Kyrie. I mean, you hear Luka. I mean, that's who they are. They go out there and they're splashing now. In the beginning, people were doubting them, Jay. I mean, they thought, you know, Kyrie is not a good fit in Dallas, but now they're saying the opposite. What are your thoughts on that?
You know, Uncle Drew and Lou, I think that's going to be the nickname there. They've really done a great job of determining who's going to be the alpha win, and then at the end of the games, they really just go with whoever's the hot hand. I mean, when you have two guys that you're perfectly okay with taking a final shot, you're better than majority of the rest of the league. And I mean, that's shown in games like against Denver with the buzzer beater, and we've seen Luka take off. He means averaging over 30 a game, so we clearly know who the top dog is in that locker room, even though they both say that they see each other as equals.
Yeah, they are dropping buckets. And Rohan, what are your thoughts on the Luka combo?
Yeah, I mean, they aren't really equals. They're kind of a Batman and a Robin, if you would say. But it just goes to show you, like, the chemistry of the team. Even last night, Kyrie goes down. The first person to pick him up off the floor was who?
Was Luka.
It was Luka.
He ran all the way from the other end of the court.
Obviously, and after that win against the Rockets, you saw them share just a bond of a hug or whatever it was. But it just goes to show, like, how close they are and how good this team is playing.
And let's talk about that Mavs-Rockets game now, Rohan. You just mentioned it. Yep. They won 147 to 136 in overtime, and the whole game they kind of trailed. They looked a little iffy, and then they pull it out in the end. Jay, what did the Mavs do well? What did you like from them?
as a Houstonian, man, it really hurts to watch that game. They were down by as much as 22 in that game. And, it just showed the experience. This team, they just kept battling back slowly after time. And really what happened is the aid came out. You had Dante Exum, who really showed up in the fourth quarter and overtime with that shot. He had 14 and 9. PJ Washington had 14, 13, and 2 blocks to go along with that. And the assist-to-turnover ratio has gotten a lot better. I know that was a first half of the season issue. With this, it was okay. It was still positive, but it was 21-17.
Yes, I totally agree with that. That first score, that first half, it was definitely worrisome as a Mavs fan. And Rohan, what did you see that you liked from the Mavs in that game?
Yeah, so as a team, we shot 90% from the free throw line, about 88%, but let's just go with 90. But we also out-rebounded them without having our star Derek Lively on the court. So that's a really good sign for me. And Kai just goes off 48 points. 25 of that came in the fourth quarter and overtime. So really happy with that.
Yeah, and that's called stepping up at the right time. It's called clutching up. But Jay, I'm going to go back to you. What did the Mavs struggle with? How come they were trailing in this game for so long?
Main reason they were trailing is Houston was just going off at an unbelievable pace that at a point they realized they couldn't even keep up with it. And I felt like that was where the Mavs' experience stepped in, is that they knew Houston couldn't keep up to this pace. Jalen Green got off to a really hot start in the first half. Second half, he didn't do as much. And they really just couldn't slow down in transition. Houston's a younger team. They have fresher legs. And that was a big issue right there, is just stopping the transition.
Yeah, and if you looked at those first half stats, you would have thought that the Mavs were dominated on the scoreboard, but they come out to overtime. And Rohan, tell me about this overtime, man. That was a thriller.
It was really something else. I want to talk about the 8 seconds left in regulation first.
Okay, go ahead.
I remember Jabari Smith missing 2 free throws, no timeouts, 8 seconds. Luka gets doubled, makes the correct pass to Dante Exum, and he's been making really clutch shots as of late.
Yeah, whenever I saw Luka get the ball in his hands there at half court, I was like, Luka's probably going to try to hit the half court. But Luka's a lot smarter than we think. He dishes out to Exum, Jay, and we could say the rest is history.
Yeah, man, that was really sickening there to watch. Because, at the end, the Rockets just completely fell apart. You had Jalen Green just pretty much not showing up the second half. He barely got any burn in the second half after having such a strong first half. Jabari misses both free throws. That's just a moment being a little too big for the both of them. And then the defensive collapses. The Mavs ran a similar play multiple times over and over and over. And it was like Luka and Kyrie wanted the defense to trap them, and it just left guys like Exum and PJ Washington wide open for the 3.
And now let's get to that Mavs-Hornets game. The Mavs won 130-104. Rohan, what did you like from the Mavs in that one?
We shot 50% from the field. We did really well defensively. I really like how we out-rebounded our opponent once again. If you can do that, you'll win many games. Defense is really clicking, so I really like that. And it was a game that we were expected to win, but once you see it really live, you kind of look at how the team is gelling together, and it's a great win.
And Jay, what did you see struggle-wise from the Mavs in that one, and did this game go how you thought?
Struggling-wise, they let guys get wide open, specifically Bridges, Brandon Miller, and Bertans. They shot a combined 48% from the 3. That was a big issue. Once again, we got an older team defending transition points, as Charlotte had 13 to Dallas's 5. And without LaMelo Ball, if this game went to a shootout, there is no way Charlotte was going to win that.
Yeah, and whenever the halftime score was 69-47, the Mavs were dominating on all fronts. Rohan, what did you see in that one?
It was clearly about, I liked a lot in that game, don't get me wrong, but they took 53s. You made 17 of them, and if you make 17, I really like that, but 53s is a lot. And to make 17 of them, it's a bit iffy against the Hornets team, but Luka went off 39, 10, and 12. He does what he does, another triple-double.
Did you see the Mavs and Luka having that against the Hornets? Did you see that coming?
Yeah, I did. Absolutely.
And Jay, did you see that one coming against Hornets as well?
I saw it coming, but 53s, that's given 2017-esque Rockets, and live by, die by the 3, but
Now let's go to this Mavs versus Heat game. The Mavs won that one 111-92, and the Mavs picking up another win, y'all. And Jay, what did you like from them in that one?
Oh, I love the way they shot the ball. Everything was falling. They shot nearly 50% from the field. We're talking 49%. And, everybody in the starting lineup did what they were supposed to. We finally got some aid here. All 5 starters had double-digit scoring, and the turnovers practically non-existent. You had 27 assists to 7 turnovers.
Yeah, and those starters, like you mentioned, Doncic 25, Irving 25, and 12 from Washington, Jones, and Gafford. That's what we like to see on the offensive side of the ball, Rohan.
Yeah, including the offense, 48 points in the paint. only 7 turnovers, as he said. So it's a really good performance. In the first 2 quarters, we outscored them 69-47. So you basically never look back from there.
And from these last couple of games, I mean, something that I've seen is the Mavs have been struggling a little bit at the free throw line, and that becomes crucial when you get into the playoffs. Now let's talk about the playoffs. It's right around the corner, only a couple of games left. Jay, what else do you see from the Mavs? Free throws, like I said. But what else do you see from them that they might need to improve if they want to see a championship?
I mean, it's been an issue all year. I mean, the inside scoring, it's either defended or it's not. I mean, teams are just having their way when it comes to the inside, and they got to start stopping transition points. I mean, this is an older team. They've played a lot of games lately, and I think the wear and tear on their legs is really starting to show.
And Rohan, got the Pistons and the Thunder coming up. How do you see the Mavs doing in these games?
Obviously, we know with the Pistons, we expect a big win. I'm guessing probably by 20. This will be the last easy game, including the regular season and the playoffs, because it is the Pistons. And after that, you're facing the Thunder and then the Clippers. So I expect them to get the win. Against the Thunder, I don't really know about that. I don't think we'll win that game. Thunder is looking to get that 3 or 2 seed, so it'll be interesting.
It'll be a good game for sure. And the Thunder won the last matchup 126-119, but Luka was not in the lineup. Jay, will that make a difference in this one?
In this one, I think it definitely will. I mean, with the Pistons, you have no Cade Cunningham, so I think that's going to be a big, easy target because they don't have the scoring that they're used to. I mean, also, but when you go and look at OKC, you have no Derek Lively, and you need somebody out there who's going to defend Chet Holmgren. And I mean, Doncic had 36 and 18 the last time he played in that game, so I think that's going to be huge there.
And the Mavs, they clinched the Southwest, and the Clippers clinched the Pacific. So it's going to be a tough battle between them. Jay, do you see the Mavs coming out on top against the Clippers?
I mean, they're going to have to fight their demons. I mean, typically in the postseason, they haven't been as successful there. But also, I think that Denver is the real issue that they want to worry about.
And Rohan?
I was going to say the same thing. I only worry about Denver. Right now, Luka goes off against the Clippers. He goes off against anybody. We saw Kai hit a game-winning shot against Denver, but can they do that for 4 games? I really don't think so. That was a once-in-a-lifetime game. But the first step is to take care of this round. I believe we can take it if we get home court advantage.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you guys both there. But now we'll have to see what the Mavericks are capable of. But now, whenever we come back, we're going to talk about another Dallas team and the Dallas Stars, and we'll talk about what they're capable of, and we'll be right back.
Willis Library, located at the University of North Texas. It has computers, printers, and the building is open 24/7. By going online, you can book up to an hour of reserved space at one of the many private study rooms. Many of them are equipped with whiteboards, a table, and a TV to hook up to your computer. Textbooks can be checked out for free with a student ID. They also have many of these in ebook forms. This is still a library, so always remember to be quiet and respectful of other surroundings, especially in certain places where talking is not allowed. For example, the 3rd and 4th floor are completely quiet. As you can see, Willis Library has many options for students, with it offering many media sources and staying open all the time.
I'm so tired. I feel ugly. I'm not okay. I didn't know UNT had counseling services. Maybe I should check it out. This looks like the place.
Welcome back into Sports Zone, and now we're going to talk about some Dallas Stars hockey action. Their season is coming to a wrap. Playoffs right around the corner. But here to talk about that with me, I have Jose Moreno and Kendall Keaton. Jose, going to go to you first. I mean, let's go and talk Stars versus Blackhawks. Stars were on this long streak. The Blackhawks, they kind of put the Stars in their place. It was Scott Wedgwood in the goal. What did you see from the Stars in that one?
You know, surprising a lot of heart in there. The Stars have been doing great this entire season with playing in important games. Again, been undefeated since I think March 14th, so we're about to be a month undefeated. Good job for the Stars, of course. But no, they just play with a lot of heart and a lot of great plays out there.
And you know, with being such a good team, there are a couple downfalls from the Stars. So Kendall, what do you see from the Stars that you think maybe needs to improve?
They had difficulty establishing their offensive presence. I've noticed when they were playing the Blackhawks, their forecheck was ineffective and very disruptive with the defense of the Blackhawks. So if they can fix that and get it under wraps for the playoffs, they should be a pretty successful team.
And the Stars, they have many playmakers on the offensive and defensive side and net. So now let's talk about the Blackhawks. They have Connor Bedard. He has a huge potential. Everyone's talked about him. You know, so far this season he's been doing pretty good. Jose, what are your thoughts on Bedard and how has he been doing?
Well, he is looking to be one of the greatest NHL prospects of all time. You know, he's like the Trevor Lawrence of hockey. He's played pretty good against the Stars, I would say.
Yeah, and this season he has 22 goals, 37 assists, totaling 59 points. So, Kendall, what are your thoughts on Mr. Bedard?
For him only being 18 years old, he's a really exceptional talent and skill at such like a young age for him. Like Jose said, he is a very promising prospect for the hockey world.
And the Stars in that Blackhawks game, they fell quickly down 3 goals, and they tried for the comeback at the end. So, Kendall, right back to you. Talk about that near comeback in the final couple of minutes.
They had like a lot of heart in them. The transition between them, they did face the challenges with the turnovers, of course, in the neutral zone, and that hindered their ability to generate the quality scoring chances, and it ultimately, they failed.
And Jose, how come in this loss, I mean, you know, you're stringing a bunch of games together. Do you think maybe just like the pressure kind of got to them? It wasn't a away game in Chicago. Chicago's, you know, middle of the pack team. How come the Stars fell to them? What was going on?
I think Chicago just has a great great fandom over there. A lot of loud and, you know, not raunchous, but energetic fans that just know how to get the team back in the swing of things. So I think once they started picking up steam, the fans just kind of added some more fuel to the fire, and then that's probably what happens. Environments are really important in the game of hockey. You know, like the Detroit Red Wings, they'd be throwing squids and such in the ice rink. It was a pretty good game.
Yeah, you said it, but the fans there, I mean, they go pretty crazy when it comes to hockey. That's their thing. But now let's talk about another team where the fans go pretty crazy. It's a pretty good team that the Stars usually have a problem with, but we're going to talk about the Stars versus the Avs. They came out on top 7-4. Kendall, what did you like from the Stars in that one?
They played really strong defense. The Stars, they effectively limited the scoring opportunities for their opponents as well. They maintained a tight defense coverage, blocking shots, disrupting their offensive rhythm. The Stars demonstrated their resilience and determination in that game because they usually lose to this team. So it was really exciting to see them win.
Yeah, it's always tough when they play the Avs, but Jose, it's always a high-scoring venture.
Yes.
Why is that?
You know, I think it's just these two teams hate each other. They both have kind of always had a very long. I think most Colorado teams just hate Dallas teams. What have I realized? You know, the Avalanche, the Nuggets, you know, even the Broncos at times just play extremely hard in Dallas, and that's just kind of how it is. I guess just the amount of energy that Colorado has towards our team just carries on, throughout the ice rink, and that's why they play the way they do against us, and that's why we play against them as well.
Yeah, let's talk about this Stars offense. There's a lot of guys on this squad. I mean, you name them: Robertson, Hintz, Pavelski, Ben, Sagan, Johnston. Let's talk about Wyatt Johnston. Nice young guy, but he's been dominating on this team. So, Kendall, what has his impact been for this team? I mean, he's only 20 years old, and he's arguably right now one of the best players in the NHL and the best player on the Stars.
Yeah, he's a really good dominant player for the Stars. So seeing him being able to help and capitalize with the Stars is really monumental.
And Jose, your thoughts on Johnston?
Well, for him being 20, he was in high school when I was in high school. You know, it's funny, he's probably younger than the Stars winning their championship. He's been playing great. I mean, 65 points, 32 goals, 33 assists on the ice. You know, it's been great. I can't play hockey, so who am I to say he's good or bad? You know.
Yes, but let's go ahead and talk about. There were several players of the game. Even I would give one to Andre. You give up 4 goals, but that's not bad when it comes to the Avs. So Kendall, who did you like? And it doesn't even have to be defense or goalie. Like anyone on the team, who did you like out of that one?
Of course, Wyatt, we've already discussed him. Jamie as well, he had a goal and 2 assists in that game. Matt and Tyler, Matt had a goal and an assist, and Tyler had 2 goals as well. So.
Yes, I didn't even mention Matt Duchene, but that's a good one. I mean, he's been playing stellar. I mean, but Jose, the playoffs, like I said, they're coming up. How is the Stars team looking?
They're going to choke in the second.
Man.
That's what happens.
He's calling out the Stars there. I have a little bit more faith in that. But let's go ahead and talk about the Stars versus the Sabres. The Stars won that one 3-2. Kind of struggled early on, but the Stars always find a way to pull through. So Kendall, what did you like from the Stars in that one?
I like that this was their 50th win this season, so that marked that as well. The season, this was the 5th time in franchise history that the Stars have reached the 50th win mark, so I guess that's a big deal. Well, it is a big deal, I guess, for the Stars. In the matchup, they displayed a really strong strengths when it came to the defensive play. They effectively limited the Sabres' scoring opportunities.
And Jose, your thoughts on the game against the Sabres?
I mean, that was a great game. They won 3-1. They played their heart out and they won. So, hey, what else can I say about that? Good job, Stars.
And now there are 3 games left for the Stars, and Kendall, you said they had 50 wins, 20 losses, so they're looking pretty good so far. They're currently, I guess, with the standings, they're the second best team in the NHL, only 1 point behind the Rangers. Do you think that the pressure might build up, Kendall, and you think they might read their own press clippings, or you think that they can continue the success?
They might get into their heads a little, like Jose said. They might choke. I mean, it's the Dallas fashion, clearly.
Yeah, just wait for the St. Louis Blues to pull up.
Well, the good thing is it doesn't even look like the Blues will make the playoffs, but the Stars do have a couple other teams that they will struggle with. You got the Vegas Golden Knights. The Stars lost to them last year, and whenever they always come down, the Stars go there. Playing against Vegas, it's a tough environment to play in. Jose, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, how come Vegas is not a top team this year, but they're going to sneak in the playoffs, it looks like?
I mean, yeah, like I said with the Chicago Blackhawks, there's something about those teams that have the I think I can mentality in which the fan base carries them. We see them with the Phillies in the World Series last year. We've seen them in the past with even the Rangers, you can even say that. Not the New York Rangers, the Texas Rangers. But, and that's the thing about Las Vegas. You can never count them out purely on the environment they hold in that rink. I mean, you go to Vegas and it's energetic. They don't have a sports team other than the Raiders. And gosh, let's be honest here. Would you cheer for the Raiders, people at home? Would you cheer for the Raiders? No, I wouldn't. And I love Oakland. But to be honest with you, I mean, that's just really how it is. Don't let the sound, the energy get into your head. If you're Tyler Sagan, keep on slicing and dicing. If you're out there and play to your best ability. And I think that's the one thing the Stars always struggle with is they have no confidence once they get into a loud area. Like I said, the St. Louis Blues, passionate fan bases in the NHL are important, and they can help you lead yourself to a final. So don't let that, the 12th man on the rink affect you that much.
But if the Stars do have to maybe play against Vegas, Jose, back to you real quick, do you think the Stars are going to have a struggle with Vegas in the first round, or do you think they'll be able to easily get past first round and another team's going to stop them?
I'm going to stick with my mindset. I think they're going to have a great victory in real life, beating the scrubs of the Las Vegas Golden Knights if they can get through the crowd and such. But again, I just think that second round is going to be what's going to kill them in the end. I mean, that's what happens to every Stars team. They make it to second or third and just choke it out. And I think that tradition is going to continue this year.
And Kendall, real quick to you, what do you think? Think the Stars got a shot to go to the ship or what?
Yeah, I'll bet off of what Jose said. They'll have a first smooth round win, but I guess when it comes to the second round, they'll struggle a little bit. So hopefully they can get out each other's heads. And of course, like Jose said, being passionate in this world, like with the fans, they can really build off of that. So hopefully the fans show up and they're able to be successful.
All right, well now we're going to hop off the ice and we're going to hop on the golf course now where we're going to talk about some Masters because you know what? It's Masters weekend and we're going to talk about it right after the break.
Craving some orange juice.
Oh hey, didn't see you there. Let's get started. This is a motor vehicle. This is the blinker mechanism. To use it, push it up for the right blinker and down to go left. You're welcome. It was easy.
The do's and don'ts of the Pole Rec Center. See that man over there? Please do not hog weights. Instead, do this. Another important part is having an attentive spotter. See, here is an example of a non-attentive spotter. Instead, do this. Now we head to the track, which should be pretty easy, just it's important to pay attention to the way the track goes. Remember to wipe down the equipment after you're done using it. The towels are provided by the gym, so it's pretty easy to wipe down the equipment when you are done. Thank you for using the Pole Recreation Center.
Welcome back into Sportszone. I'm your host, Trey Francis, and like I said, it's Masters weekend, so we got to talk about the Masters at the Masters. So here to talk about that with me, I have Sean Hunley and Jalen Bullock. Jalen, I mean, it's an exciting time for golf fans. Just talk about the excitement real quick.
Man, there's really nothing like the Masters, man. It's a great weekend. It's a great tournament. One of the best tournaments regardless of sports. Lots of upsets every year. You have some of the best players in the world who underperform at this tournament, but then you have underdogs, what am I saying? Underdogs who end up doing very well in the Masters, and it's just a great tournament, a great tradition, and I look forward to seeing it this year.
And Sean, this tournament, it's invite only, and a lot of good guys out there this year. What are your quick thoughts so far? And you can go up based off the question that Jalen had.
Yeah, 100%. There's definitely some underdogs. There's some guys that are, really expected to do well that actually underperform. You got John Rahm coming off his Masters last year. We'll see how he does this year. It's really hard to win back-to-back. You got Bryson DeChambeau, a wild card, doing well. You got Scotty Scheffler that's expected to win it. So, you got all kinds of different guys out there, and especially the young guys like the guy that won the Valero Open last weekend. We'll see how he does at this Masters.
Yeah, so let's talk about Scotty Scheffler. You just mentioned him. He's a Texas boy, went to the University of Texas at Austin, and also graduated from Highland Park High School over near Dallas. And, he's been tearing it up. He had 2 back-to-back wins. Jalen, what are your thoughts on Scheffler so far this season?
Currently world number 1, 80 weeks strong. Won the Arnold Palmer, won the Players Championship. Got second right there at the Houston Open. Just really consistent all season long. Top 10 at pretty much every tournament except for the American Express. Just a phenomenal player. I really think he's going to do very well at the Masters.
Yeah, top 10 in the last 6 tournaments is pretty dang good, and Scheffler's been on tear. And Sean, we see him so far right now sitting in second. What are your thoughts on Scheffler?
There's a reason why he is the best golfer in the world. I've watched Scotty Scheffler for a long time, and there's something about Scotty that he's smooth with what he does. He knows how to play the game in all aspects, and I think watching him play is just a really great thing to do. It's something that, if you want to learn how to do golf, you watch Scotty Scheffler. Just watch what he does. It'll definitely improve how you play the game. It might not be like Scotty, but great guy to watch.
Yes, and a very well-spoken guy as well. They had the practice rounds the other day, and then yesterday, par 3, little tournament, championship, whatever you want to call it, par 3 course that they played. It's always a lot of fun. But now let's get into a couple of these other local guys. We got, I would say I lean more towards Will Zalatoris, Jordan Spieth. He's another one out there, and Patrick Reed as well. So, what do you guys think about these local guys? Jalen, I'll go to you.
Zalatoris, he had those 2 tournaments where he finished in the top 5. Besides that, really in the middle of the pack in a lot of these tournaments. Just really some inconsistent at some points, but I really want to see what he's going to do going further. You have another guy like Spieth, finished 10th at the Texas Open. Also in a similar situation, has some tournaments where he's a top 10, golfer, other tournaments where he's, in like the mid 70s. And then Patrick Reed, he's one of those guys that competes on the LIV, golf tournament, but has performed very well in the LIV tournament, and I really want to see how that translates to the Masters.
Yeah, and whenever it comes to Will Zalatoris, like I mentioned, he's been up there, and Joan, you said it, he's been up there, but he hasn't been able to win. We saw him in last year's Masters, get up there, get close. He's been, to a playoff in a tournament last year, but Sean, he just has not been able to win.
No, right. He's got 1 win under his belt. He's got 2 top 10 finishes this year with the Genesis,
which is second place in the Genesis.
Right,
that's pretty dang good.
He's pretty good, but you definitely know with how long he's been in the PGA, he wants more. If you're a young golfer, you got to prove yourself. You want to keep your PGA card, and I think he'll get it soon. But it's just until then, we'll see what he does. As far as Spieth's concerned, he hasn't fared so well past couple of years. But I still love watching Jordan Spieth play, and it's tough for him right now.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Maybe he'll get his shot, one of these days, or this year, or next year. But now let's talk about, what other top guys have y'all liked? We saw a couple weeks ago, Denny McCarthy. He had a heck of a back 9, strung together 8 out of 9 birdies. That does not usually happen, and had a very close finish. But what other guys have you liked? Sean, I'll go to you.
I love watching Hideki Matsuyama. I've watched him the past couple of years ever since he won the Masters. The thing is, I haven't seen Hideki kind of get back to that level that he was at. He did win the Genesis, I believe it was last year, if I'm not mistaken. But I'd like to see more out of him. John Rahm, another guy, I like watching John Rahm play. He's got a good drive, but I haven't really seen John at the level that he was when he won the Masters last year. I love watching Willie Z, and I love watching that Ludwig Aberg guy, the Swede. He's a really good guy to watch.
Yes, he's the Texas Tech guy. And Jalen, who else do you have on your list?
I want to throw in Steven Yeager. You named a lot of great players. I want to throw in Steven Yeager. He's another one of those guys that I think has a good chance to do very well at the Masters, very consistent this year, and just someone that I really want to see later in the later days in the tournament, and I really think he's going to do very well.
Yeah, Sean, you mentioned it. John Rahm, he won last year. He had a heck of a year last year. Now, you can compare his play last year to how Scotty's been playing this year, strung together several tournament wins. So, Jalen, what have your thoughts been? I mean, do you think that pressure is, you think it catches up? You think he can go back-to-back by chance, or what are your thoughts?
He definitely has the ability to go back-to-back, but holding the green jacket, and trying to go back-to-back, especially at the Masters, that's one of the most difficult things to do. I think there are a lot of guys that are playing at a very high level. So I personally don't think he's going to go back-to-back. I think he's going to be a top 5 golfer the entire tournament, but I don't see him going back-to-back.
Yes, and let's talk about the last 5 winners from the Masters, because that's always an interesting category. John Rahm, and the year before that, Scotty Scheffler. So now he's looking to get 2 in the past 3 years. And then Hideki Matsuyama, y'all mentioned him, Dustin Johnson, and Tiger Woods. Let's talk about Tiger Woods for a second, guys. I mean, he's back, and he started off well today so far. I'm not sure exactly where he sits right now, but Jalen, go ahead and talk to me about Tiger Woods.
So he is back, but he's old.
Don't hate on the old guy now.
Don't want to hate on the old guy, but injuries have been something that we have to worry about in these later years with Tiger Woods. Again, I don't know how he sits today as well, but I'm not expecting the most from him. Of course, it is Tiger Woods, so he can do anything whenever. But it's really an interesting tournament compared to past years. Of course, he's going for that 6th jacket. But we'll just really see how things shake up.
Yeah, and Sean?
It was unfortunate last year when he had to, or the year before when he had to pull out because his back was bothering him. You hate to see that from a guy that's accomplished so much and arguably the best golfer in the world, and hands down, no doubt about it. I would love for him to win another Masters, but I think 2019 was 100% the best moment for Tiger. I can't imagine going through everything that he had to go through to get back to that point. It's just, I love watching that guy, and I'm sure a lot of young kids do too.
Yes, he's had a lot going on throughout his career, a lot of ups and downs, but whenever he came out today and he birdied the first hole, people are like, is Tiger back? Are we going to see the old Tiger this year? And through the first 4 holes, I think he ended up even from whenever I last looked. But do you guys think that we can see a comeback for Tiger? Like, maybe not this year, but maybe further down the road. Sean, what do you think?
It kind of depends on what you're talking about exactly. If come back in golf like completely or just like at the Masters.
You think we can see him win a tournament first, and then we'll get to Masters?
I think we can see him win another tournament. I really wish he would have won the Genesis last year, but I think he can definitely win another tournament if he stays healthy, if his back's okay. I believe Tiger can win another one. He's a wonder, man.
So now we'll go back to that Masters question. Do you think that he can win another Masters? And if so, when? Or if not, it's
no,
okay.
I'm going to say no. Tiger's fared very well at the Masters, like you said, 5-time green jacket winner, but I don't think he can get another one. Scheffler's too good, man. I don't think he's going to beat Scheffler in this one.
And Jalen, your thoughts on Tiger?
I'm going to agree. His Masters win days are over. I think he's going to do. I think he has the potential to win another tournament. We'll just really see. His health is just key, especially at this age. But as far as a Masters winner, no, I don't think he's going to get another one.
So let's talk about that last year's Masters. It was Rahm finished -12, Koepka -8, Nicholson was up there -8, Henley -7. Who were kind of the guys that y'all thought overperformed or underperformed? Sean, I'll go to you.
Brooks Koepka definitely performed very well, except for the last day. He had the lead going into the last day, and then he just completely choked and shot, I believe it was a 75. And John Rahm just came out of nowhere. I believe it was 9 under to start that last round, and he was 3 under for the day and beat out Brooks. They both did really well. I wish Brooks honestly would have won that, but good for John Rahm, and we'll see if Brooks can. I don't know if he's competing in the tournament or not, but I'm sure he can do it again. He's been on a good run.
And Jalen, for you?
Ricky Fowler had a very good tournament. That was his first Masters since 2020. Shot under 5 and just made a lot of noise. As far as my underperformer, I would say Dustin Johnson, a very good golfer, but just a really poor tournament from him.
Yeah, I'm going to go, last year didn't make the cut, Rory and DeChambeau, who DeChambeau we see at the top right now. So it's going to be interesting to see how one shakes up. But go ahead and give me your guys real quick, 3 guys who you think could win the Masters this year. Sean, I'll go to you first.
I'm going to go with Scotty Scheffler. I'm going to go with Willie Zalatoris. And I'm going to go with Ludwig Aberg as my top 3. And then DeChambeau's a wild card because he's doing really well.
And Dylan?
Of course, I'm going to go Scheffler. I'm going to go Jason Day. And I'm going to go Rory McIlroy.
All right, I'm going to go Scotty Scheffler, Matt Fitzpatrick, and Will Zalatoris. So we're going to have to see how it shakes out. And Tiger is a wild card just because why not? But that will do it today for us on Sportszone. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to follow us on social media. It's NTTV_sports. And make sure to stay tuned for nightly news and watch that Masters this weekend. And we'll see you later. Have a good night.